welcome to the Wednesday afternoon session of the Voluntary Sector Expo. My name's Anita Hansen and I am the Partnership and Engagement Lead at Wessex Community Action. This afternoon, welcome to Wednesday afternoon. We have now heard from 4 groups this morning, around half a dozen yesterday and a similar number on Monday. So we've had a fantastic response from voluntary and community organisations across Wiltshire to be part of this expo. In fact, we actually had to not turn them away because we haven't turned anyone away. You can catch up with those that weren't able to be part of the week on our YouTube channel because they wanted to still be part of the expo, even though they couldn't be here with us in person across the week. So we will send out links to our YouTube channel where you'll be able to revisit this presentation or this afternoon session, as well as all the other sessions that we've already held and that we are holding tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day, which is quite sad. But it's been a fantastic experience. It's been a fantastic opportunity to hear from a range of voluntary and community organisations that operate in Wiltshire, supporting our communities and our residents, just about the scope and the variety and diversity that there is in the sector, and the services that they provide, the essential services that they provide to too many. And so it gives me great pleasure to welcome 3 in person and 1 recording. So we have Becky from Youth Adventure Trust kicking off this afternoon's session. Then we will follow up with a video from David Cook from Developing Health and Independence Charity. Then we'll hear from Alison Sankey, who's the chair of the Family Counselling Trust. And last but not least, Louise Rendle, who is the Chief Executive of Wiltshire Service Users Network. So again, a real variety of organisations, different sizes, different groups that they're supporting, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about all of them and what they do and who they support and the difference they make to our communities. So that's probably enough from me. And I am going to hand over to Becky to tell us all about Youth Adventure Trust. Thank you, Becky.
Hi there, so I'm Becky Brotherton-Brown and I'm the Senior Mentoring Manager at the Youth Adventure Trust. At Youth Adventure Trust, we work with vulnerable young people across Wiltshire and Swindon, giving them access to personal development opportunities that many may take for granted. We use outdoor adventures as a tool to enable our young people to learn and develop and have life-changing experiences that we hope will help build their resilience, enable them to face the challenges in their daily lives. So we work with 380 young people per year across Wiltshire and Swindon, and that's made up with the young people who are on our main programme as well as our mentoring scheme. The young people on our programme are referred to us for all sorts of reasons, a variety of reasons. They're all vulnerable, and that's quite a loose term, but they're all facing challenges in their lives due to circumstances beyond their control. They may be living in poverty, they may have chaotic home lives, have social care involvement, and they could be struggling at school, perhaps experiencing bullying or have low self-esteem or low confidence. They could well be struggling with peer relationships, making poor friendship choices, or perhaps lack positive role models. But very often it's a combination of all of these factors. So the way in which we work with young people is we have partnered with 22 referral schools across the whole of the county. So we have selected these schools to work with and we offer them a number of places each year, between 5 and 8 places per organisation to refer into our programme. So just for information, these are the schools that we're currently working with. So 21 schools, and then we also have a few places for young carers in Wiltshire to refer to us as well. So as you can see, we cover a large amount of the towns in Wiltshire. The young people are on our programme for 3 school years, so between year 7 and year 9, so kind of that 11 to 15 age range. And during this time, they'll attend 3 different residential camps and 8 activity days with us. So we see them every single school holiday except for the Christmas holidays. In between those times as well, they're given ongoing guidance and support throughout the whole programme by our dedicated programme managers. So this is just a little diagram here of what the Youth Adventure Programme looks like. So they begin in year 7 on an Explore Day, which actually have just been happening over recent weekends. That's a taster for them, and their first time of sort of meeting their programme manager, who will remain with them for their whole time with us. They're soon gearing up to, and very excited to go on their first residential camp, which is Mountain Camp in the Brecon Beacons. Following this, and so all of the residential camps, they stay under canvas, so sometimes they're bivvying, so really new experiences for them. We use outdoor adventure as a way of equipping those young people with the tools to take back to their home environment and deal with some of the challenges they may face. Year 8, which is their second year of secondary school, is kind of where the majority of their time with us happens. So they have activity days in every half term and school holiday other than Christmas. In May, they go to Dorset for Coastal Camp, where they have 3 days of all things water-based. Following that, in August, they go to the Forest of Dean, where they spend a week under canvas again. They're a bit older at that point, so we challenge them a bit further. They have an overnight a paddle down the Wye with an overnight bivvy, and they also spend 24 hours in the forest as well, sleeping under the shelters that they've made. The pathway days are in year 9, so their final year with us. And they're 4 days throughout the year, and they're quite similar to the activity days that they will have had before, so they're held locally, but we try and prepare them for leaving our programme and thinking about what comes next for them. So each of the pathway days has a theme, so whether it's giving back, whether it's looking forward as to what's next, there's lots of different themes to those. And again, as I say, it's about us helping them to prepare for the end and what they can do within their community going forward. In addition to this, we've got a relatively new addition. So 5 years ago, we introduced the mentoring scheme, which is an additional offering for a small handful of our young people. So currently the numbers are 20 each year, who then were referred by their programme managers onto our mentoring scheme, which is what I hold responsibility for. The mentoring scheme is there. We recognise that for the majority of our young people, the main programme serves them really well, but for a handful of those young people, actually they would really benefit from some more individualised support going forwards. So the mentoring scheme is where they're matched with a volunteer mentor, and they spend 2 hours a fortnight with that mentor for an academic year. So I just wanted to show you a film, really, because I think that kind of really highlights what we do and why we do it.
What's so good about Youth Adventure Trust?
It's just great to get outdoors instead of sitting around using phones and Xboxes and getting us out to do activities we wouldn't do in normal.
Normally I back away from stuff, but now it sort of gave me my confidence, and now I know I can do it.
So instead of backing away from challenges, you now step up to them?
Yeah.
Probably say that it's like confidence building, and it's a really good opportunity to like mix with people, and the activities you do are really fun. Even though
I think I just tell them that if you ever got this opportunity to come out and do this, I would say yeah, because it's just something to get to know new people that you didn't know before, but like you should have known, and like get really close to people.
I used to get anxiety about like everything if I didn't I never used to try nothing, but now like they've like, come on, you can do it, like my friends cheer me on, and I feel like now I've got a bit more confidence and stuff.
I like it because it gives you a lot of chance to do other things that you haven't done before, because some people don't get the chance to do stuff like that, or the opportunities.
Because it helps you succeed in like every way possible, and it's just fun because you meet new friends and you can rely on them, and you trust people.
You don't know what a challenge is like until you try it. So try it and then have a go and see what it's like.
If you fail once, just keep going, never give up.
Because you're never going to know what it was like if you never did it. And then you'd be annoyed with yourself if you don't.
I have got challenges at home, but here Rob's just basically my dad while I'm here, and Tess is basically just like my mom. And then the other leaders are just like big sisters, or big brothers, or uncles and aunties, to be honest.
I can't believe it's only just over a year since they started. They seem 3 or 4 years older. It's crazy. I mean, that's probably partly secondary school. But the way they deal with everything we throw at them is totally different. Confidence that they can look after themselves a little bit, because a lot of them don't have a lot of being looked after at home. Knowing that they can work with different people even if they don't like them. I think that's a big thing in schools. It's very much about how popular you are and doing stuff just with your friendship groups, but they have worked out by now that they can work with people even if they're not best mates.
When I first came, I didn't really speak to people. I didn't really start conversations, but now I do.
Because of my brothers, I never get time to be on my own. So when I come to Youth Adventure Trust, I've got my own place to stay, all there, and it's just really good for me.
I mean, when I was growing up, I got to do all of this stuff with my dad. And one of the reasons I wanted to volunteer was that I think all children should be able to experience the outdoors and experience camping, and every single thing we do is new to them. And you can see that they always start off a little bit scared, and then they come around to the idea, and then someone brave does it first, and then they think that, and then they end up halfway up a tree and they thought they'd never be able to do that. So it's really, really rewarding to see them challenge themselves, as well as us just giving them a little bit of encouragement.
And it helps me develop as a person.
I'm a bit less scared of the dark now.
Well, I've just had amazing time. I've recommended it to as many people as could. And I really want to thank the people who fund it for us. Thank you.
So hopefully that gave you a little flavour of what we're all about, and kind of follow a little bit of a journey. That was Forest Camp, but that was mainly filmed out there in the Forest of Dean. Just wanted to show you some feedback really from our young people from 2021. So as you can see, 100% would recommend the Youth Adventure Trust, which is definitely what we want to hear. 93% feel that they're challenging themselves and doing more than they thought they could. 93 are becoming more resilient, and we're all about mental toughness at Youth Adventure Trust. So for us, that's great. Enjoying new experiences, new places, and meeting different people. Again, really high percentage there, 92%. 85 are making good choices and taking responsibility for their actions. 80% are now getting on better with other people and working in a team, which is a big thing for some of our young people when they join us. And 74% of those young people are leaving us feeling more confident. That's pretty much it from me. I guess I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the work that we do as a charity. If you'd like to find out any more, please feel free to visit our website, There's a section for young people. If you're interested in volunteering with us, there's a section for volunteering. We have many volunteering roles, but also extra support out there for parents and young people as well within Wiltshire. Even if their young people aren't involved with our programme, there's lots of sort of signposting to other organisations and activities and clubs within Wiltshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. It's always really emotive and powerful when you see a video and you actually hear the beneficiaries, you know, the kids say in their own words, the difference that your work makes to them. So thank you for sharing that. It was very heartwarming and lovely to see. I'm going to hand you over to Sarah, who's going to be our sort of question master this afternoon.
Okay, Becky, a first question that's come in. What is the criteria for a school to be included in your programme?
That's a good question. So it goes back to some of our sort of senior people in the charity sort of looking at the county as a whole, maybe where there's a particular lack of opportunity within, particularly if it's rural, and access to services, etc., maybe transport links, those kinds of things. And equally in some sort of areas of deprivation where young people, you know, there might be higher levels of crime or difficulties and challenges that way. So it's quite a complex thing when we take on new schools, and we've been working with the majority of our schools for a very long time. But yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And slightly following on from that question, do you have a specific criteria to assess which children are eligible at school? So is it free school meals, pupil premium, or is it done on an individual basis based on teacher observations or individual assessment?
Yeah, so we have a link person in each of our schools who we kind of our programme managers deal with. So each of our programme managers looks after a certain area of the county. And it's really important to us that our link schools know what the programme is about, the types of young people it can help and the way in which it can help them. So so in each school, the link person is a different person. It could be someone in senior management, it could be the pastoral lead, it could be a specific teacher who takes responsibility. So we don't have specific criteria, we just sort of explain who can benefit and actually trust the judgment of the teachers and link workers who obviously know those young people the best and who know who could benefit the most from our programme. And I guess it's worth mentioning as well that the service that we offer on our programme is offered free of charge to the school and the young people and their families. So that's fully funded.
Brilliant, thank you. And then just one final question at the moment. How much do you rely on volunteers to deliver your programmes?
Almost entirely. So we simply couldn't do what we do without our volunteers. So we have a very small operations team of 7 or 8 of us, and 2 of us are sort of within the mentoring team, and the rest on the main programme. So aside from that, we simply couldn't run what we do without our volunteers. So all of our camps, our activity days, our mentors, every single one of them is a volunteer. So yeah, we absolutely couldn't do what we do without them.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you, Becky. Back to you, Anita.
Thanks, Becky. I say thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon. And we're going to move on without further ado to a video from Developing Health and Independent.
So hi guys, my name's Dave Cook and I'm the Project and Programme Manager for DHI, who look after the Motivate service in Wiltshire. So this is a recorded presentation for the VX Wiltshire event 2022. So I'm just going to share my screen and take you through a quick presentation. So hopefully you can see that. I'll just start the presentation. Okay, so my name is Dave Cook and I'm the Project and Programme Manager. So Motivate, for those that aren't aware of us, is a substance misuse service for young people 11 to 18 in Wiltshire, providing advice and guidance, one-to-one sessions for young people who are having issues with drugs or alcohol. The service is free and confidential. We aim to provide a flexible and non-judgmental space. So DHI, Developing Health and Independence, are the charity that run the Motivate service. So Developing Health and Independence do all sorts of things, including working with adult drug users and people with problems with accommodation and, perhaps homelessness as well. So we do a wide range of services around kind of helping those that can be quite hard to reach and kind of often need help with things like drugs and alcohol. Motivate is a Wiltshire-based service funded by the local authority. So what we offer is as follows. Brief interventions. So that can be, as it sounds, a very brief intervention on someone's drug and alcohol use. A very quick intervention that can make all the difference, provide some a level of detail, but more often than not concentrated on the risks involved with kind of drinking too much or taking drugs. We can also provide confidential one-to-one sessions. We do outreach. We do a lot of kind of out and about, often in some of the towns around Wiltshire. We do group sessions, particularly in a school or a youth club type setting. A lot of what we do is harm reduction. So it's, I suppose it's kind of recognising that just because we might say that drinking too much or taking drugs is harmful, it's recognising that sometimes young people are just going to go and do it. So it's really important that we kind of offer harm reduction methods, so if they are going to do it, how they do so with less risk. We signpost to lots of other services and work with lots of other kind of professionals. We also offer training for professionals. So many of the people watching this might have done some of the training that we deliver. We used to do face-to-face, but most of it's online now. We do several different types of training courses, so you can get in contact with us if you're interested in some free training. If you work with young people in Wiltshire, that's free. So we do a kind of general drug and alcohol awareness session. So if you're not aware of kind of current trends in drug use, particularly in relation to young people in the local area, you can sign up to that one. We also do some workshops and training for young people as well. So we do some work in schools and various other settings. We work with lots of other kind of agencies, some of whom are listed here. So we do, as I say, multi-agency working and kind of joint working is a really, really important part of what we do. We offer referrals to other agencies, but also things like it mentions their diversionary activities as well. They can be all sorts of different things, but sometimes, making a change in a young person's life isn't just around kind of their drug and alcohol. Sometimes changes around kind of their situation can result in that change, and that's what we're looking for. So in terms of how we engage with young people, it's always kind of person-centered and always non-judgmental, allowing a safe space for young people to talk to us and have a voice. As I say, we kind of really focus on strong partnership working as well. It's a really important part of what we do. We use kind of motivational interviewing techniques. And we like to think, we're kind of real experts in this field as well. We kind of know what works with young people. We have a really strong record in showing some success in following an intervention from us. So hopefully we create a warm, welcoming and trusting atmosphere for young people. All of our workers are experienced professionals and kind of, relate well to young people, we hope. So just a slide here on the referral routes. So we take referrals from lots of other agencies. Some are listed here, quite a few from schools and police. But really kind of any professional working with a young person can get in contact with Motivate and we'll look at working with that young person. So the details are at the end of this presentation and you can give us a call or email and we can talk to you about the best way of referring. This is quite an interesting slide, just really on the kind of the issues we see in our work with young people. Rather unsurprisingly, just remembering this is up to 18. Rather unsurprisingly, cannabis use is the most likely drug that we see in our work, with around about 90% of the young people we work with using cannabis regularly. Also, large numbers of using alcohol, and I suppose of particular interest to those with kind of risky alcohol behaviour, and that's going out and getting hammered, that's going out and drinking too much and potentially kind of putting yourself at risk from having accidents and fights and arrests and all sorts of different things that can have a really big impact on a young person's life. Ecstasy or MDMA, you know, quite a large amount of use there. And I suppose that's a drug that can give us cause for concern because, you know, it does result in some deaths each year. Around about 100 young people each year die, not in our local area in the UK, die from MDMA use, although we have had local deaths as well. So it is a drug where a kind of a one-time drug instance, taking it for just one time can result in a problem. So it is one that gives us cause for concern. And actually what we've seen recently is a really high percentage of pills that are purported to be MDMA kind of aren't MDMA, contain lots of other things as well. So you get into this real difficult situation where someone doesn't know what they're taking. It's a drug that you swallow most of the time. And actually, you know, that tends to mean it has a delayed effect. Drugs that we swallow kind of take a while to get into our system. So it can result in real problems with people taking too many and all sorts of things. We see quite a high number of level of cocaine use as well. Although perhaps the one thing that means we don't see as much cocaine use amongst young people is its cost. It tends to be one of the higher costing drugs. And a few other drugs listed there. I suppose other drugs that I'm not sure they're shown on this chart actually, but other drugs we often see are things like ketamine, but also nitrous oxide. I don't think it's reported on here. It would be fairly high if we did. So just to go back to that one, if you are, interested in kind of knowing more about drug use amongst young people, get in contact with us and we can sign you up to one of our courses. We do a general drug and alcohol awareness one. We also do one around alcohol use amongst young people, and we talk about a tool that we've developed called Drink Think, which is a identification and brief intervention tool. We also do a parental substance misuse course as well for those working with in a kind of family environment. So that's kind of a whistle-stop tour of Motivate and what we do. All of our details are here, so you can give us a call on our free phone number. You can email. You can find us on Instagram. Got a fairly kind of lively and regularly updated Instagram account at DHI Motivate. There is also a website, the best website for information about drug use and kind of not just about drug use, but actually about all the lots of issues affecting young people through their kind of teenage years, is a website we launched last year called The Wrap. So go to thewrap.dhi.org.uk and there's loads of information there. And it's a great website for young people to use. They can use something called the self-help tool, where they could go in and say, well, actually, I'm using cannabis and I'm using it, you know, a couple of times a week. And they can get results delivered back to them in the form of a pack, with actually, you know, things they can do, whether that's like a drug diary or a consumption app. So there's loads and loads of good information on there. So do go on and have a look at thewrap.org.uk. So I hope that's been a useful kind of tour of Motivate and what we do. Thanks for listening.
So I will thank Dave, even though unfortunately he couldn't be with us this afternoon to take any questions. I think actually we've got a few young people and family orientated, both presenters and people in our audience, that will probably find that quite useful. And I think the offer of updating us in terms of the drugs that are out there and how young people are using them, for me as a mother, is a really useful source of resource and information, because it's quite hard to keep up to date. So if you are here and support young people, then please do follow up with DHI. So and look at that WRAP website to help us all be informed about drug and alcohol misuse, or use, not necessarily misuse, but use. So I am now going to pass on to our next presenter this afternoon, who is here with us, so we'll be able to answer your questions. So please do keep them coming in. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Alison Sankey, who's the chair of the Family Counselling Trust. Thank you, Alison.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. My name's Alison Sankey, and I'm the chair of the Wiltshire branch of the Family Counselling Trust. And I'm just going to tell you about what we offer to our children and families in Wiltshire. And first of all, really just to say, as you all will be very, very aware of the huge challenges facing children and families where there are mental health difficulties, both for parents and for children. And what we aim to do is to try and provide an early response, to step in early when children or families identify difficulties, and provide some input and help. So we're a registered mental health charity. We offer counselling to children and young people up to the age of 18 and their families. And one of our strengths is that we have a very family therapy systemic approach. So we're looking a lot of the time at family communication, which often is a contributing factor to difficulties which children present with. So we raise funds to enable families, particularly on low income. So we're really focusing on low income families, although we are available to all, and we subsidise the cost of therapy. So the Family Counselling Trust was founded in Dorset in 2005. We also work in Somerset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. And the Wiltshire branch covers primarily West, Mid and South Wiltshire up to sort of from Bath to across to Devizes. And we're hoping bit by bit to expand further northwards. So who refers and from where? Last year we had well over 100 referrals, and these are mainly from schools, also GPs, paediatricians, other charities and so on. And the take-up offer of therapy is about 60%. There are lots of reasons why families may find it difficult to, first of all, approach an organisation for help, and secondly, actually then make the commitment. And we know that it can be a really complex and emotionally hard business for children and families. So we're very pleased when our families do accept our offer. And about 40% of families now are self-referrals, and young people can refer themselves directly from the website too. So we're mainly based in South and West Wiltshire. We're hoping to expand northwards. This depends to a large extent on being able to recruit more therapists. So who do we offer counselling to? We offer 6 to 8 sessions of counselling to children and young people who are presenting with problems that are not going to hit the threshold for statutory services. But if there's no intervention or if nothing happens, it's likely or possible that the problems will worsen. And we know that the vast majority of serious mental health problems that develop in adulthood have their origins in adolescence. So this is really crucial. And if we can offer an intervention that changes the trajectory of a child or family's life through communication and improving skills and providing help with emotional regulation and all the other things that that we can offer, then this is incredibly important. So you'll see there the kind of list of the difficulties that we will see. I won't read them all out, but what is actually very striking to us is the number of highly anxious children we see, and often the anxiety is around family communication difficulties, loss, bereavement, upheaval, parental relationships breaking down, and children getting lost in those processes. And so a huge amount of our work is actually working with families, parents included, to try and improve communication. So example of some of the types of situations that we may get involved with. So a 14-year-old girl living alone with her mum, sad and exhausted all the time, not attending school, and has lost contact with her friends, looking very thin. Dad has recently stopped all contact, and she lost a grandparent. So you can see there that there are a whole number of factors interacting together. So one of those on their own, for example, not just, but dad having stopped contact, might be, a 14-year-old might be able to manage that with a bit of help and support. But when she's lost a grandparent as well, and she's finding difficulty keeping going with her friendships, then there's a mood problem and anxiety beginning to kick in, and it becomes a more serious business. So in that sort of situation, we would see the girl probably with her mum if she was willing, and do some kind of initial assessment, and then offer her 6 to 8 sessions to try and help her understand and look at what's happening and find ways to build her resilience and help equip her to cope. So let's have a look at the next one. 10-year-old boy, eldest of 4, dad is in the army, often away from home. Mum has some depression and struggles on her own, and the marriage is in difficulty. The boy is angry and aggressive at school and home, lacks confidence and seems vulnerable. He has some learning needs. Again, you can see there are lots of factors interacting there. This is complex, and we're not going to be able to sort out all those difficulties in 6 sessions. We're not going to be able to solve all those problems. But what we can do in that situation is get mum and dad together, help them to think about what their family's needs are, what's going on between them, how can they help in their communication to manage this boy's emotions. And then possibly some sessions with the boy as well to try and help him understand what's happening, or even some family sessions. So we are dealing with a lot of complexity, but we will try and pick out an area that we can focus on to really make a difference for a family. And so what do we offer? Well, I've mentioned family therapy several times, and we do have trained, fully qualified family therapists on our team, so that they will understand these difficulties from a systemic point of view, which is absolutely crucial to our work. But we also try and match the kind of therapy approach with the needs of the young person. And there are young people who find talking therapy is just impossible. So using an art or creative therapy is often an easier and much more approachable and child-friendly way of working through difficulties. And most of our therapists will also have additional training and skills in cognitive behaviour therapy. A lot of our children will need some kind of trauma therapy, mindfulness and meditation training. And so we will use a combination of the approaches that we think is going to best meet the needs of the child and family. And we offer a lot of work online, which actually many young people will prefer rather than actually having to sort of sit in a room with a therapist. They will find working online much more comfortable. And how do we vet our therapists? Well, I'm not going to read through this list, which will be familiar to many of you who work in child and family organisations, but we do actually set a very high standard for our therapists, and we do require them to have had a specific child-based counselling qualification and at least 150 hours or more of direct therapeutic work with children. And we also require them to be having personal supervision with a supervisor who also has been trained and works to a high standard in seeing children and young families. So as with some of the other organisations we've heard from today, we're part of a network of partners, and this is incredibly important and valuable to us. And you'll see there listed some of the other organisations that we work with. We also signpost families, so there are a number of families that for various reasons we can't see, and we will do our best then to signpost to another organisation so that we can give them some guidance, some advice, some support in making links with maybe another more appropriate organisation. So we fundraise to pay our therapists. We have a county-wide fundraiser who is also our chief exec, but we also fundraise within Wiltshire, and we've been supported by various organisations, including Wiltshire Community Foundation and other local Salisbury-based and other organisations around the area. But that is a continual process, and as many of you will understand, it requires quite a big commitment, but we're happy to say that the money is coming in. We are always keen to have people join us, and you don't need a background in child mental health, but interest in this area and wanting to support families and promote us, anybody would be most welcome to join us. So what are our unique qualities? We intervene early before problems escalate. I can't stress how important this is. By the time you can access the child mental health services in the NHS, which are doing their best in an impossible situation, problems have to become so much worse. If we can escalate, if we can intervene early and change that trajectory, then a child's life, a huge difference can be made. So we offer a quick response locally to local area. We don't cost very much. we've worked out that to see a child and family for 6 sessions probably costs something in the region of £500. That's very little in the bigger scheme of things. And we have low overheads as an organisation. So we're proud to be able to offer that. And here's a little bit of feedback from a family. We have a happier family home with less worry about our sons feeling low. The counsellor made us feel comfortable and at ease in made a unfamiliar situation feel like it was easy to manage. So here are our Wiltshire contacts. I realise I haven't put the website address up, which is obviously an omission, but if you Google Family Counselling Trust Wiltshire, will come up. And we have a local person who is our immediate contact, and that's James Pointing, who will take referrals and obviously offer guidance and help to anybody who's interested and makes contact. And then just finally, I'd like to tell you about a training day that we're offering on the 14th of October in Salisbury. This is for families, professionals, parents, carers who have children on the autistic spectrum. And we are providing a mixture of lived experience from a parent and child with autism, a young adult who has grown up with ASD, and a speech and language therapist who is a neurodevelopmental trainer. So please do promote that within your organisations. We've got support for parents, so that we're only asking them to contribute £12.50 for a place. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. It's a really great service that you provide, because I'm sure that many families have been under immense pressure over the last couple of years through COVID, and probably since the afterwards in the aftermath of COVID as well. So it's fantastic that your service is there and accessible for families. I'm going to hand over to Sarah, because I'm sure there's some questions.
Okay, yeah. Just to start, you said earlier on in your presentation that the preventative work you do before children and young people need statutory services or get involved in that. Due to the long delays and waiting lists for some of that provision for mental health for children and young people, have you seen a kind of increase in demand of what you can offer?
Yes, we have, and an increase in demand, but also an increase in complexity, as I said earlier. So we're not seeing children coming with one problem. We're seeing children coming with a kind of complicated mixture of difficulties within families, often to do with economic situations, housing, or employment, etc., that are affecting the whole family's life. And then the young person is then struggling. Maybe something else then happens at school, and then the young person just can't cope with what's going on in the family life as well as maybe in their school life. And we can't sort all that out, obviously, but what we're really working on is to try to build emotional resilience and help young people learn communication skills and being able to talk, being able to express, being able to find ways to manage their emotional ups and downs in the face of difficulties that are outwith what we can do. Yeah. But yes, the number of referrals has gone up, as all organisations working with young people in this field will be experiencing, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And also a question, what are the costs to your services? So somebody can come along for 6 to 8 weeks, but what actually happens if a young person needs more than the 8 weeks potentially? Can they pay for more sessions? What's the cost of the service?
Yes, so the first part of that question is what's the cost of the service. So we offer families on a sliding scale. So families who have an income of 25,000 or less, we ask them just to make a contribution of £5 per session. So that's almost like they're making a very small commitment to the work, financial commitment. And actually, if families are clearly in dire straits, we won't charge them anything at all. But so we have a sliding scale going up from £25,000 for families. And so do we offer anything more than 8 sessions? I'm afraid the answer to that is no, because we're not in a position to take on long-term counselling, psychotherapy, or that kind of input, and that would require really commissioning a much bigger organisation. So we are, if you like, the first step on that process. We will try and signpost, as I've said, to other organisations, but I think the reality is there's not very much that will sort of fill the gap between an early intervention service and the kind of statutory services. There is a difficulty there for many families where perhaps more long-term work will be needed. However, families can be re-referred to us, so we can pick them up again perhaps after a while. Yeah.
Okay, just another question, a bit more of a tricky one. How do you manage confidentiality when you're working with younger children, and perhaps it's in relation to sort of familial relationships?
Yes, that is very tricky indeed. So we would address that right at the very beginning. So a discussion about confidentiality would take place at the very first meeting with the counsellor, and the boundaries of confidentiality would be made very clear, so that as many of you working with children and families will be aware, anything that is said by a young person remains confidential, and a young child within the session, unless the counsellor is concerned about the content that represents any kind of risk to the young person or anybody else. And in those circumstances, there need to be a discussion with the young person about potential concerns, safeguarding concerns, and either the parents or other agencies would then need to be brought into the conversation. And that is very sensitive, very difficult. And if you've got one parent who is in agreement with what's happening and another parent who maybe perhaps not living with the family who's not, then working with that issue introduces another area of complexity. So without going into too much more detail, we will do our best to maintain the child and young person's privacy and confidentiality within the safeguarding measures that that we're all trained in. Yeah.
Thank you. And just one last question, really. Someone's asked, can we be sent the poster to be sent out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't done a massive, sort of a big distribution, but we will do it. That's the next 2 or 3 weeks that'll be coming out. So thank you. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. I'll hand back over to you now, Anita.
Thanks, Anne. Alison, if you are happy to send Wessex Community Action the flyer for your events that are coming up, and we can circulate it to those groups here on the call today, but also through our newsletter, just to help raise awareness when you're ready to do that. So that we can provide that sort of support. So. It gives me great pleasure to invite Louise to give her presentation. I have to say, I've been working with Louise and the Wiltshire Service User Network for the last couple of years, and have got to know the organisation and meet some of her beneficiaries. So it's lovely to have Louise here this afternoon to share with you all of what I've learnt over the last 2 years about the Wiltshire Service User Network. And so over to you, Louise. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. As Anita said, I'm Louise Rendle, and I'm the CEO of Wiltshire Service Users Network. So who are we? So we were founded in 1991, so we've been around in Wiltshire quite a long time. We're celebrating our 30th year at the moment of supporting people. We're a user-led organisation, and we were the first user-led organisation in Wiltshire, and that means that our management committee are made up of service users, so people that use health and social care services. Many of them have disabilities, mental health issues, sensory impairments, and also a number of our staff are also disabled or have experience of mental health issues too. So our projects all come from what the community are telling us they need, so if there are gaps in the community. And we also have a membership of service users who also tell us where there are gaps too. So the first service that I want to talk to you about is our Wiltshire Autism Hub. And this Autism Hub was, it came about because we did some work with autistic people in Wiltshire, and they were saying that there really was nothing for them at all. So we, together with autistic people, we're all for co-designing projects and co-production. And we designed a project that would support, initially it was for adults with autism in Wiltshire. However, over time we've managed to obtain some funding from the CCG to lower that age to 14 years and above. So to come into our project, you must have a diagnosis of autism and you must be living in Wiltshire and obviously over the age of 14. So as it says there, the hub was created to provide support and signposting, not only to people with autism, but their families, so relatives and carers, and also to professionals. We provide support for professionals who are also working with people with autism. So if somebody is struggling to find a way forward with someone, we can offer support to those professionals too. We also offer autism awareness training for any organisations that would like that for their staff. And that involves, it's a very social model of disability. So that's about looking at the barriers that exist in society and not that the disability is the barrier. And we have somebody with autism that delivers that training. So the type of support that we offer is through, we have 3 outreach workers who work with people on a one-to-one basis. The sorts of issues that we can support with are things like helping people to understand their relationships. Some people really struggle with that, and especially if it's a parent and a child, or it could be a husband and wife. Sometimes they really struggle with those kinds of relationships, so we can support with that. It's about navigating the social care and health systems. We all know how difficult that can be for people. So for people with autism, it can be really difficult to understand what people are asking for, particularly around things like care packages. So we can help with that. We also support people around benefits, particularly around PIP, personal independence payment. We know, many people know that it's a minefield for people applying for PIP. And so we will support right from the beginning all the way through to appeal if that's necessary. And we currently have a 100% success rate in getting people their PIP. So it might be a long process. Quite often it takes about a year if it goes to appeal, but it's something that we support all the way through. Also, people come to us with lots of housing issues, anything from difficulties with tenancies. We often get people that are sofa surfing or homeless, and so we will help them to look at a best way forward for them for their housing issues. The other sorts of things that we support with, many people with autism have anxiety and depression and other mental health issues, so we can look at strategies to try and support them with that anxiety. And we also liaise with lots of different agencies. So it was interesting to hear earlier about drug and alcohol use, and for some people with autism, drug and alcohol use is higher because they use drugs and alcohol to suppress their hypersensitivity to things. So they find it as a way of controlling some of their sensitivities. So we also have quite a number of people that we support that have drug and alcohol issues. Last year we supported 244 people. We're a very small team, and 160 of those were people with autism. 59 of them were relatives and carers, and 8 were people that were autistic but were also in a caring role. So we so we support all those things. I'm just going to read you one of a kind of case study of one of the people that we've supported. It might give you an idea of some of the things that we do. This is a lady called Amy, and she was referred to us by her mum. She's 21, and she was recently diagnosed as being autistic. Amy wanted support around her employment. She had significant time off due to mental health issues, and we supported Amy to liaise with her employer around reasonable adjustments. She was having difficulties around her sensory issues because of the equipment she was using, and also adjusting to going back into the workplace after she was working from home during COVID. Access to work were contacted, and it was agreed that she could work 3 days a week from home, and we supported Amy to develop some strategies around the communication, as she felt that she was being excluded by some of the other members of staff. Amy then went on to successfully apply for another job in a different organisation, and she's now working in an outdoor setting doing something that she loves. And that was a really positive step for her, and we supported her to do that. We've continued to work together to ensure that she feels supported in her new role. We've developed strategies and solutions. For example, at her new workplace, it was expected that everyone should eat a hot meal together at lunchtime. And that was causing Amy quite a lot of stress and anxiety. She found it very difficult. So we helped her to reach a compromise with her employer, and she stays for lunch and then she leaves and goes home for the rest of the lunchtime period. So she has some time alone so she can relax. She also liked to explore social situations with us. She finds them quite difficult, and she often feels she's misinterpreting situations. So in our sessions, we test out theories and look at different perspectives and find solutions that can be helpful. We've also linked her to other autistic people, and also online resources such as Purple Ella, which is on the internet. It's a lady that has autism and ADHD. So she can start to gain some other viewpoints and perspectives around people that also have autism. Amy's self-awareness and her understanding of autism is developing, and she now catches up with us about every 2 to 3 weeks if she has a particular concern, and she's feeling much more positive about the future. That just gives you one example of sorts of things that we can support with. These are just a couple of quotes as well from other people. I'll read them out just in case anybody can't see them. Having someone to talk to that is a professional, very understanding, and help me with paperwork that I didn't know how to sort. And most support I've had since diagnosis, well, pretty much the only support, to be honest, very valuable. So those are a kind of couple of quotes from some people that we support. So some of our other projects, just so that people are aware of the kind of things that we do. We're currently doing walking buddies, and that's where on a one-to-one basis we provide support for people with long-term conditions and mental health experiences, and they have a buddy to walk with them. We found during COVID, particularly during lockdown, that people's physical and mental health was deteriorating, and so we managed to secure some funding so that we would walk with people on a one-to-one basis. It's a great opportunity for people to have a chat with us as well. It's surprising what we learn and how we can then signpost. It helps people that lack the confidence to walk in or do any physical activity in groups. And it's particularly valuable for people, you know, for example, we've had a lady who had her hip replaced during COVID, and the only walking that she'd done was inside her bungalow. And so she'd lost a lot of confidence. So we started off by walking just around her estate a little way, and it's gradually over time we've increased that walking, and she's become much more confident about walking. Our Find Your Voice group is a singing group for people with neurological and long-term conditions, and it meets weekly online at the moment, but we're hoping to go back to face-to-face and online from September. if it goes, so online, obviously it doesn't matter where you are in the county, you can join in. But when it goes back to face-to-face, it is likely to be in a Seamed Community Centre, but I can put more information out about that when it happens. The idea is that it's not a choir, we sing for pleasure, and we also sing for the fact that singing can really help with people's breathing, with their swallowing, which is particularly relevant for those people that have Parkinson's or have experienced stroke. And it also helps to strengthen the voice. So lots of people lose the ability to speak, or their voice becomes very quiet, and singing really helps to do that. People come in having a whisper and they go out with much more of a voice at the end of the session. And we also have fun too, which is the most important part of it. Again, this is a quote from one of our Find Your Voice participants. I really enjoy the group, although it's challenging. My voice has diminished, especially the strength and range. And I've become quite isolated and don't speak to many people. My motivation is also a problem, and it's obviously having an impact. The group supports me with all these things. We also do some seated exercise as well, so we're kind of trying to keep people's mobility going, and breathing exercises too. So these are my contact details, and if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Louise. It's nice to learn a little bit more about WUSON, as I've just looked at the sort of been involved with the Autism Hub, so it's nice to have a sort of more rounded, full picture of what you do. So thank you very much for that. I found it very, very interesting. Sarah, any questions for Louise?
Yes, Louise, how is your service funded?
So currently our Autism Hub is funded by the lottery, and for this year it's funded by the CCG. We're just about to go into hoping that the lottery may fund us going forward, but we're always on the lookout for funding. Our Find Your Voice singing group usually comes from area boards or things like the postcode lottery, so we're always looking for small pots of money for that. And the Walking Buddy scheme at the moment is funded by the by WASP, who, because we're trying to increase physical exercise for people that are maybe disadvantaged or have long-term conditions, because we know that those people are really have really suffered during COVID, and their physical activity is decreased.
Okay, I think you may have answered some of the next question in the answer you've just given. But the next question is, do you work in collaboration with other like-minded voluntary organisations? And you did just mention the work with WASP.
Yeah, so across all our projects, we try to be as inclusive and work in partnership with as many organisations as possible. We get lots of referrals from other organisations, particularly voluntary organisations, as well as statutory organisations. So it's really good to link in and for them, to support people in a wraparound service. So we don't want to work in isolation. We like to work with other organisations, because people don't fit neatly into one particular box. Just because they have autism doesn't mean to say they don't have mental health issues alongside that, or other long-term conditions. So yes, definitely we work with lots of organisations, and actually Motivate are going to come and do some training for us around drug and alcohol, and we did training for them around autism. So yeah, we definitely work in partnership.
Brilliant. And one final question. There seems to be more awareness about autism nationally. Would you agree, and what's your experience?
I think it's been really good that some celebrities have come out and talked about their autism. I think that's been really helpful. And people like Christine McGuinness and people like that have kind of raised the profile of autism, which is brilliant. So I think, yes, there is more information out there. It doesn't mean to say there's more support, and I think that's that's quite often people get a diagnosis and think there's going to be lots of support for them, particularly if they don't have a learning disability alongside their autism. And so that's quite difficult when they get a diagnosis but then realise there's not an awful lot of support for them. So that can be, you know, people might really want the diagnosis, but it doesn't often open a lot of doors for people because criteria for certain things are quite high, certainly around things like social care support and stuff like that. So doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get more support.
Okay, that's it. Thanks. Thank you, Louise. I'll pass you back over to Anita.
Well, thank you, and thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. As I say, we've heard four amazing presentations this afternoon from Youth Venture Trust, Family Counselling Trust, DHI, or Developing Health and Independence, and also from the Wiltshire Service User Network. And I hope that's helped everybody understand a little bit more about what those organisations do, how they support people within Wiltshire, and maybe generate a little bit of discussion between those groups, because there are some similar themes or some areas where there's already connection, but maybe an opportunity for further connection. So it leaves me with the job of bringing this afternoon's expo to a close, and to say thank you to everybody that has been joining us. We are back here tomorrow morning at 9:30, with tomorrow is our last day. And in the morning we will hear from Wiltshire Centre for Independent Living, and then also from Salisbury Food Bank. Sarah, you're going to have to jump in because there's also another presentation, and I don't think I've got an
There is, and we're also going to hear from Ross Foster Manning, who's the project leader for the Salisbury Trust for the Homeless.
Thank you. See, we have been very agile this week in accommodating and changing our agenda to try and accommodate the groups that want to be involved in this expo, which is, fantastic that we're able to do that, and fantastic so many groups want to be involved. And then tomorrow afternoon we have Health Watch Wiltshire, Chippenham Cycle Network, and also Zero Chippenham, two environmental and sort of conservation type charities dealing with the climate agenda. And then finally we will wrap up with a presentation from the Wildlife Trust. So if you are able to join us tomorrow, please do. And so thank you very much to Louise, Alison, Becky, and to David for their contribution today, and for those who have been part of our audience and for their participation in forwarding some questions. And enjoy the rest of this lovely sunny warm evening. Thank you.